Thank you, Mr. Session Chair. Greetings to all of you from Geneva. My name is Shengli, Senior Specialist on Occupational Health and Radiation of the International Labour Organization. This presentation is jointly prepared with Zhizheng Ma, the head of the Occupational Radiation Protection Unit of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna, Austria. I thank IRPA and the conference host for giving me the opportunity to present the activities of the ILO and IAEA in their follow-ups of the international conferences on occupational radiation protection. The first international conference on occupational radiation protection was held at the headquarters of the ILO in Geneva in August 2002 to address the challenge at that time in the protection of workers against their occupational exposure to radiation. The conference was hosted by the government of Switzerland and organized by the IAEA in collaboration with the ILO. It was co-sponsored by the EC and held in cooperation with WHO, OECD, NEA, OSCAR, ICRP, ICRU, IEC, IRPA, and ISR. It was structured so as to obtain the view of not only the regulators and radiation protection professionals, but also the employers, workers, and the other stakeholders. There are about 330 participants from more than 70 countries and 12 international organizations attended this conference. Some of you may have also participated in this conference. The findings and recommendations of this Geneva conference were considered in September 2002 by the IAEA General Conference, which requested the IAEA's Director General to look into the possibility of the IAEA cooperation with the ILO and other relevant bodies in formulating and implementing an international action plan for occupational radiation protection. Accordingly, the IAEA, in collaboration with the ILO and other relevant international organizations, supported by a group of international consultants, and in consultation with the member states, produced an action plan which was approved by the IAEA Board of Governors in September 2003. 14 actions were established, which can be grouped into 9 areas. They cover the ILO Convention number 115 and the IAEA safety standards, safety infrastructures, safety culture, education, training and information, holistic approach, the protection of specific groups, including pregnant workers and their embryos and fetuses, and tools to support decision-making with regard to the attribution of health effects due to occupational radiation exposure. After a decade, almost a decade of implementation of the action plan, the steering committee of this international action plan concluded at its 5th meeting in 2011 that all 14 actions in action plan had been successfully completed and the objectives of the plan had been fully fulfilled. The achievements include further promotion and application of the IAEA and ILO safety standards, production of safety documents, organization of conferences and meetings, training events and materials, establishment of ALARA networks at regional and international level, and set up web pages, etc. In 2014, almost 12 years later, the second international conference on occupational radiation protection was convened by the IAEA in Vienna and co-sponsored by the ILO. This conference was supported by 15 other international organizations with more than 500 participants from about 80 countries and 21 international organizations. The conference identified 9 areas as the key focus for the future activities at the international level, and produced the Occupational Radiation Protection Call for Action. These areas include holistic approach to implement the existing international safety standards and guidance, development of new international guidance, strengthen assistance to member states with less developed programs for occupational radiation protection, exchange of operating experiences, training and education, safety culture, young professional development, international forum for information exchange, and the application of graded approach of the BSS in protecting workers against exposure to elevated levels of naturally occurring radiation or radioactive materials. Among the activities under the International Action Plan is the revision of the International Basic Safety Standards, BSS, was one of the most important achievements. This revision was coordinated by a BSS secretariat led by the IAEA and supported by hundreds of experts from member states. The revised BSS was co-sponsored by 8 international organizations, including the ILO, and used by the ILO as a most important tool to promote and apply its Convention number 115 on radiation protection of workers. 50 countries have ratified the ILO Convention number 115. Thus, the requirements embodied in this convention are obligatory legally to these countries. The application of the convention is linked to the new BSS, which is now the IAEA General GSR Part 3. This safety guide, number GSG7, was jointly produced by IAEA and ILO in 2018. It provides guidance on fulfilling the requirements of GSR Part 3 concerning occupational exposure. It provides general guidance on the development of occupational radiation protection programs to fulfill the responsibilities of the management for protection and safety. Detailed guidance is also provided on the monitoring and assessment of workers' exposure due to external radiation sources and from intakes of radionuclides. The safety guides reflect the current internationally accepted principles and recommended good practices in occupational radiation protection, with account taken of the conceptual changes and technological enhancement that have occurred over the past decades. The IAEA and ILO have jointly organized promotional regional workshops on this safety guide in Africa, in Asia, and in Europe. And it also organized national programs, national workshops to promote this safety guide in a few countries. There have been numerous other publications on occupational radiation protection developed by the IAEA. Many of them were prepared in collaboration with the ILO and other international organizations. Here are some examples of these publications. The IAEA has developed a web-based network on occupational radiation protection called OPNet, and you are most welcome to access and use it for your work on occupational radiation protection. In order to promote the application of the BSS and the relevant guidance on radiation safety and protection for workers, 7 training packages have been developed and updated. All of them are uploaded on the IAEA webpage OPNet. Several e-learning materials have also been created to support these packages. The IAEA provides services to help the member states in the application of the safety standards on occupational radiation protection. They include ISMER, the Information System on Occupational Exposure in Medicine, Industry and Research, which currently has 2 modules focusing on industrial radiography and interventional cardiology. Currently, a global survey on ISMER, industrial radiography, is ongoing. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. OPAS, Occupational Radiation Protection Appraisal Service. This service was initiated after the first conference in Geneva and strengthened after the second conference in Vienna in 2014. So far, 25 missions have been conducted. 18 of them were after the second conference. The IAEA also organizes services on dose management systems, DMS, and on National Dose Registry, NDR. The IAEA has organized a number of regional workshops in Asia, Pacific, Europe, and Africa on occupational radiation protection. Some of them were jointly done with the ILO. We know that there are more workers occupationally exposed to natural than artificial radiation. NORM Symposium is an important forum for radiation protection of workers in NORM industries. The IAEA has co-sponsored the event since the second symposium. Several of them were also supported by other international organizations, including the ILO. The last one was successfully organized in Denver, USA by the US Conference of Radiation Control Program Directors in 2019. The next one, NORM 10, will return to its origin in the Netherlands in May 2022. The International Interagency Committee on Radiation Safety is an useful mechanism in the follow-ups of the Occupational Radiation Protection Conference. It has a task force on BSS, and a most recent product of the committee is an information overview on managing radon at home and at work. At present, the IAEA and ILO are in the process of preparing for the 3rd International Conference on Occupational Radiation Protection, which will take place in the 3rd or 4th quarter of 2022. The host will be the government of Switzerland. The conference, we expect, will be supported also by other organizations like WHO, OECD, UNSCR, and so on. We expect about 500 participants to attend this event. The conference objective are to exchange information and experiences, to review advances and challenges and opportunities, and to identify areas for future improvements. Um, the conference will cover the entire spectrum of occupational radiation protection, including infrastructure development, safety culture, radiation monitoring, um, dosimetry, optimization of protection, education, training, stakeholder involvement, and the probability of causation of occupational harm attributable to radiation exposure. I thank you for your attention.